Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our Let's Play series against first XTRG, then Lieutenant Rainbow Slash, and now Lodric. In today's video we're going to be playing the April 20th turn, and we are going to be seeing if our subs get any more information about the Japanese carriers, which we saw last turn at Singapore, in which we, momentously put a torpedo into the side of the Hiryu. We do have some submarine activity off the southeast coast of Singapore right here. It looks like our sub fired a torpedo at a destroyer. Now it's getting depth charged. We'll go ahead and fast forward through the depth charging. Whoa. Well, we didn't get any fish on any warships, but this is some good intel. The Seawolf only took one hit, and you can see that the Japanese formation here consists of 5 battleships and then 4 heavy cruisers and some light cruisers. So this is the task force that we saw a few days ago off the southwest tip of the Philippines, and it appears that they have made their destination Singapore. Now, what we don't know is we don't know what direction those guys are sailing, and so we'll have to take a look and see if these guys are heading south or if they're heading into port just like the carriers. If they're moving into port, then it reinforces our view that there's likely a carrier raid that's going to be originating out of Singapore, either up the Strait of Malacca toward the Indian Ocean, or south and perhaps out the strait near Oosthaven, or maybe a move against Batavia. But I don't think it makes sense to move them to Singapore. Balikpapan would be just as likely of a location, less likely to be torpedoed down there, or some of the other Dutch East India islands in the south. So my hunch is on a Singapore raid moving out of either through Oosthaven or through the Strait of Malacca. But we'll have to see what information we have about these Japanese battleships and see if maybe they're a bombardment task force that's heading south toward Batavia, or whether they're a support element for the actual invasion or raid into the Indian Ocean. Okay, we've got a patrol boat encountering a torpedo boat off the coast of Java. We'll go ahead and fast forward through that. Looks like we took 1 shell hit there, didn't do any damage, and we suffered heavy damage. But that ship is already out of fuel, so it's going to take heavy attrition anyway. Okay, so I think that does it for the night phase. We'll move into the air operation phase. Actually, another submarine activity here just off the coast of Medan in the Strait of Malacca. Looks like some Japanese patrol boats are moving against our submarines there. We saw that last turn too. They appear to be trying to clear the Strait of Malacca of subs of ours, which does lead, to even more suspicion of a Japanese carrier raid north. Okay. Fast forwarding a little bit more. Let's see what the air phase has in store for us. Some ANs flying into Singapore. So at least some of those bombers are not the carrier air group from the Hiryu. Some of those are army bombers going against the Dutch troops on the island of Sumatra. Fast forward a little bit again. Whew, just blasting through this turn. This is going to be a quick turn, it looks like. Yeah, we're already into the ground combat. So we've got the 3rd or 4th attack at Tijilap. It looks like they brought a full division this time. The 4th division is included. There is no way we're holding up there. And a couple of regiments as well against a coastal gun battalion and a base force. Big Bang Yamato might already be ready. I'm not sure. I think it's spring of 42. Which is, we're in early spring. All right, so looks like they destroyed our units at Tijilap. They took the base finally. Deliberate attack south of Padang against one of our garrison battalions that was retreating in that direction. Looks like they surrender as well. 184 prisoners. So a big day for Dutch POWs. Pago Pago expands the airfield to size 5. That's big news for us. Calcutta expands to 7. That's also big news for us. So those are 2 airfields expanding that will substantially assist our power projection in those regions, especially out of Pago Pago, where now maybe we can throw some 4-engine heavies to, I don't know, project more power. Or maybe we can use it as a base to make a strike against Savi. All right, so that does it for the turn. Let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the replay. Or jump in and take a look at the turn, now that we looked at the replay. Okay, so what do we got going on here? First off, we've got a whole bunch of subs in the Strait of Malacca. No sign of enemy ships moving through. No sign of that battleship task force either. So I'm guessing they went into port there. The number of ships in port increased from 171 last turn to 206, which would make sense if there was a big task force that just arrived. We're showing tankers, which would make sense for logistical support. We're also showing about 100 bombers or fighters and then 11 auxiliaries. Bangkok is up to 217 fighters and just shy of 100 bombers and another 100 auxiliary. So he is building up a air force at Bangkok to try and crush Rangoon. He has the combined fleet likely at Singapore, both the battleship arm and the carrier arm. He is going to be down one fleet carrier. He has pushed some warships west of Oosthaven. Not sure where these guys would be going. Says they're moving northwest. So this way? I guess it could just be an individual raid. They could also be making a play for Diego Garcia. We're actually in the process of reinforcing Diego Garcia with a Marine Raider Battalion, and then the Wake Forest Defense Battalion. I don't know if the other guys can unload here. We don't have... Well, we do have docks, so they should be able to unload their heavy equipment. So if they're bringing in like SNLF troops, we should stop them at Diego Garcia with the reinforcements. Adu is a little bit weakly held. But we could always throw some cruisers or destroyers in the way if that's where we think they're going. They could also just be rounding Sumatra, heading northwest like this, and then swinging northeast in the next turn to some of these other islands off the west coast of Sumatra to consolidate their gains. When did I put the 223 group wing at Great Nicobar? I do not recall that. That's a waste of aviation support, probably. 6 aviation support on a 0 hex, a dot base. I suppose we could throw some float planes in there. Maybe we'll do that. Get a little bit closer look. Rangoon, meanwhile, we continue to bring some limited amounts of troops and supply in here. So we've got 6,000 men of an RAF group and some heavy AA and coastal guns unloading. We've got 2,000 more men in another task force here. So about 8,000 soldiers unloading, about another 3,000 supply. We could do that. We could pull those guys out via air, but I actually kind of like the idea of, at least for a day or two, putting like a float plane unit down on Grand Nicobar. That would really let us get a much closer look at Singapore and what the Japanese have in the area. I don't think we can supply it, Sean Mack, but if we have 20 supply there now, I think we can have it operate for a couple days before it consumes all the supply. And I think that's well worth it. So we'll take a look. Rangoon itself, 88,000. Didn't we have a lot more supply there last turn? 88,000 currently at Rangoon. Not sure where all the rest of that went. I swear we had a lot more. The 22nd Chinese Infantry Division here is currently working on heading to Pegu via rail. I'm kind of tempted to maybe switch their target to Rangoon. They're currently packing up, so actually they're going to start moving this turn. But the last few days they've been set to strategic mode, which packs them on trains. I wonder if they'd be better off going to Rangoon, not because that's where they're likely to fight, but we can get much better supply at Rangoon, and we could quickly reinforce these guys with 100 new infantry squads, some 81mm mortars and machine guns, and some support if we have overwhelming amounts of supply. Mandalay, Mulman still looks kind of open, so we could try and make a push there. We probably have enough troops south of Pegu to do it. It would rob him of a resupply point where he could just shuttle bombard against Pegu and Rangoon, which is something we should consider. Meanwhile, in China, not a lot of changes here. Not really a ton of intel or anything like that. You know, we haven't seen the enemy armor or where they've gone the last few turns. Not sure. Any of the units in Rangoon upgrade? I don't know. Trying to think of who would have upgraded. Well, they're set to no. The smaller armor unit didn't. How are air units, by the way? We had P-38s that were still working and getting repaired. We're up to 23 active, so 4 are currently down for repair. Is there an HQ at Rangoon? I think so. 221 and 224 group are both HQs. We also have the ABDA HQ. And a fair bit of artillery, or anti-aircraft artillery there as well. If we take a look at Sri Lanka here, we still have 2 CVs. So we've got fuel loading up or unloading, or actually, sorry, loading up. We've got 2 fleet oilers at Colombo, which is great news for our fleet if we want to go and fight. We've got 4 carriers sitting in port, but at anchor. The Indomitable, Formidable, Saratoga, and Lexington. And then the 2 American carriers, which had upgrades that could be done there, will finish their upgrades in the next day. And then we'll get the Enterprise and the Yorktown back into action to allow us to rebuild our fleet. So that's good news. We also have a healthy supply of fighter reinforcements for our naval air groups. The F4 Wildcat has 51 aircraft in the pool. That's basically 2 full squadrons, and we have, what, 4 squadrons worth on our carriers total. And some of those are F4 F3s, of which we have 17 replacements. So the Navy's fighter situation isn't great, but it's not terrible. The Dauntlesses, only 20 replacements. That's a little bit low when you consider our carriers have like 2 squadrons of them. We're pretty heavy on Dauntlesses. We could downgrade to Helldivers for some groups if they lose too many casualties. And then the Devastators have almost no replacements, but it is what it is. That's an obsolete torpedo plane that's not going to do anything anyway. We're probably going to operate at 100% Sean Mack now that we know he's got a raiding fleet or whatever this fleet is down here. I don't want to get carriers stuck in port for 20 days. The carriers that we did upgrade were the carriers that can upgrade in a handful of days because the upgrade's minor. If we were to try and do the Saratoga, for example, her upgrade would, I believe, be considerably more expensive. Take a look. She does have an upgrade that she's due. But it says the minimum upgrade delay is 27 days, I believe. So she'd be out of commission for like a month. So I don't want to do that. Meanwhile, supply situation not getting any better on Clark Field. $207 supply left in the stockpile at Bataan. 4935 at Clark Field. We're going to starve soon. Sean Mack, I want to do them, but on the flip side, I don't want to do them if there's going to be a fleet engagement in the next 30 days. So thanks, Biff. It was rough. It's rough every goddamn year. Not to go all in on football, but the Packers find an absolute new way every year of having a incredibly satisfying regular season end in some new and bizarre form of anguish in the postseason. Every year it's different. This year you had a block punt touchdown, a block field goal. 7 years ago it was blocked, or not a blocked, it was an onside kick. Just, you know, new and interesting ways. Yeah, honeybee, it takes a bit of patience. That's putting it mildly. So we took a look at the Burma situation and the China situation. We took a look at the fleet at Ceylon. I know I'm mispronouncing that, so I always just say Sri Lanka instead. How's the Repulse coming along? She's got to be like 1 or 2 days, 5 days away from the Repulse returning to duty, the battle cruiser Repulse. Prince of Wales has her cruise speed up to 6. Unfortunately, that's still only good for 1 hex. We need to get that to 2 hexes. And once we do, we'll get her out of South Africa and either to the U.S. East Coast or to Great Britain, where repairs will hopefully be much faster. So 5 more days for Repulse, though, so that's good to see. This turn was light on aircraft involvement. 1 aircraft loss on each side due to operational losses. A Dina for the Japanese, a Catalina for the Americans. We had over 6,000 aircraft sorties last turn. That is a lot of flying around. Oh yeah, Devonia. Fly, Eagles, fly. Just like, what was it, 2004? The Packers had the Eagles down to 4th and 26. They were literally a 26-yard conversion away from knocking the Eagles out in the divisional round. But no, the Eagles converted and went on to win. All right. Yeah, the only team the Packers do well against in the playoffs is the Cowboys, which is fitting that they lost 3 years in a row against them in the 90s, so now they're kryptonite in the playoffs. But anyway, Pearl Harbor battleships are in pretty good shape, I think. We have the Oklahoma. We have the California and Tennessee, which are both repairing. Realistically, we should probably get them to the U.S. West Coast. Repairs are much faster there. But currently set to 42 days at Pierside and 318 in the shipyard. I'm trying to think of what other battleships are damaged here. We've got one in Los Angeles, I believe. The Maryland, which looks like she's fully repaired. We've got one at San Diego, which is the Pennsylvania. She has 124 days left being repaired. I want to say we have one at Mare Island. We do. The West Virginia will be done in 62 days at Mare Island. And San Francisco has the Arizona, which will be done in 12 days. So in 2 weeks' time, we could have 2 battleships moving to Pearl, 3 if we wait like 4 weeks. And that goes along with the battleships that survived largely intact. We've got 6 battleships at sea, 1 at Pearl, 7. If we bring those other 2 in, it's 9. We've got a strong battle fleet. So we're in pretty good shape there. The New Caledonia division is unloading at Perth. Still unloading, although it looks like most of the division is off. So that is here. 385 assault value, 273 1941 squads for the U.S. 91 morale, 41 experience. Pretty good unit. Now in Perth. In addition to that, we also have an Australian infantry division of crack troops in the east. In addition to like just everything else. Trying to think of where they are. It's like the 6th division or something like that. Do you have floating docks yet, and where will we send them when we do? Do we get floating dry docks? I think there's like a dry dock type thing. But I don't have any of them yet that I'm aware of. We do have ARs, like ship repair. Oh, I think is it ARD or something like that? Is a dry, like a repair dock. Can Hermes hunt or hurt the raiding convoy? Probably not. Hermes is only carrying fighters. So Hermes is carrying an American squadron of Marines. Carrier capable, not carrier trained. We're looking to get that up. So, all right. Ship availability. One day we get another cargo ship and minesweeper. In 2 days we get a troop transport and a couple of cargo ships. In 7 days we get the Illustrious. So we could actually send the Illustrious and the Repulse to the Indian Ocean together. Since the Repulse will be done in 5 days, then we have 7 days coming in with the Illustrious, so we can send like a convoy. We have the first Laffy, the one that'll be sunk at Guadalcanal, coming online soon. 9 days. With that being said, this was a quieter turn, so this is going to be a pretty short episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave your thoughts down below. We got a good visual on the majority of Japanese battleships, and I think the coming turns could be pretty interesting. We might be settling down to a little bit of peace and calm for a few days, and then perhaps some big operations. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer, once again saying thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.